So this evening we'll do mostly meditation. So we'll do about 30 minutes meditation, and then about 30 minutes discussion and question and answer, and then about another 30 minutes meditation after that. And then dedicate. So same format. We'll start with a little some meditation to focus our mind and generate a positive motivation. And then we'll, if you like, you can go for refuge. We'll recite the refuge and bodhicitta prayer, the one verse prayer. And then we'll do a little bit more meditation before we have discussion group. So we'll do breakout rooms, discussion group, breakout discussion rooms, I guess. Okay, so get comfortable wherever you are in your home, meditation seat. So direct your mind inwards, try to remember the 7 points of the Vajrayana posture, checking each point for yourself, and then scan through your body as you breathe naturally, right? Scan through your body, beginning from the crown of your head and scanning down to the soles of your feet. And inhale. As you inhale, I can imagine inhaling very rejuvenating, kind of nourishing, healing white light. As you exhale, imagine breathing out any blockages, any discomfort, tension. So before we do that, so I'm just kind of outlining what you'll do for the next few minutes on your own. But just to review, I'll mention the 7 points of the Vajrayana posture. So there's first is the legs and the feet, either sitting in full lotus or half lotus or just cross-legged position or on a chair or wherever you are. So that's the first, how you're sitting. And then your torso, your spine, straight and erect is the second. And the shoulders, broad and open and level. The third. And the fourth is the hands in the lap, the right hand on top of the left, tips of the thumbs touching and resting on your lap and just in front of your navel. Or a little out from your body is also okay. So remember also, that's the fourth, right? Feet. So your shoulders, so your torso, spine, remember you're balanced. You're going to rock from side to side, front to back, find the place where you're balanced. And then third, shoulders broad and open. Fourth, the hands in the lap. Then the fifth, the head slightly tilted forward, the chin a little bit tucked in, the back of the neck slightly elongated. And then the sixth, the eyes half closed, and the gaze down, and then one's focus of one's vision sort of pulled in. So it's not focusing on anything specific, but letting your gaze rest unfocused in space. And then the seventh, the lips and teeth in a natural position and the tip of the tongue touching the roof of the mouth, just behind the front teeth. So just take note of the 7 points and then scan through your body and relax and breathe naturally and gradually turn your attention inwards, as I described earlier. Mhm. So then for yourself, decide on object of meditation to focus your attention on for a minute or so, just to try to generate some focused attention, some concentration. So you can focus on your breath, and remember the three ways I described earlier, focusing at the tip of your nostrils, the sensations at the tip of the nostrils, or focusing on the abdomen rising and falling, or focusing on just the whole cycle of breath as we following the breath as we inhale down into the lungs and the abdomen, and then as we exhale, following the breath back out. So following the breath up and down like that. So those are three ways to focus on the breath, or you can also take as your object for placement meditation. Yeah, your own mind, the nature of your mind, or impermanence, or a visualized object. Anyway, choose one object of meditation just to practice some placement meditation for a minute or two to focus our attention before we generate a positive motivation. Mhm. So then as a support for generating a positive motivation, visualize yourself surrounded by all sentient beings, as we've done before, with your parents on either side of you, your mother and female family and friends to your left, your father and male family and friends to your right, and those whom you most have to be most careful, not to generate anger towards and to generate positive attitudes towards, seated directly in front of you, facing towards you. And then all the other sentient beings, a class of strangers, seated all around you. And remember how, oneself and all sentient beings are just the same, and wishing to be free from every form of suffering, wishing to have happiness, and having the same right to those, the same potential for those. So recognizing our interdependence, and then, generate a positive motivation for this session, thinking about why, in a personal way, why you're here, engaging in this meditation session. So try to generate far-reaching in terms of number of people you consider, and also far-reaching in terms of um, the height of your aspiration, I guess. If you can, it's best to aspire towards full enlightenment, generate bodhicitta. Mm. And then if you like to generate the mind of refuge, you can visualize Shakyamuni Buddha, at least Shakyamuni Buddha. And then if you like more elaborately, you can think other, the Dharma texts on a little table in front of Buddha, and then other Buddhist saints and your own teachers of this life seated all around Shakyamuni Buddha, and generate faith that they have the power to protect oneself from suffering of low realms, and especially suffering of all of samsara, and to lead one to full enlightenment. So now I'll share my screen to read together the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer. So, we'll read just the English 3 times. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my 2 collections of listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha in order to benefit all transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my 2 collections from listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha to benefit all transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by my 2 collections from listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. So if you like, visualize white light rays flowing forth from every pore of Shakyamuni Buddha and all the objects in the field of refuge, purifying oneself and all sentient beings of every obscuration to developing all the realizations on the path to enlightenment. So white light rays filling your entire body, purifying all obscurations. And then visualize golden light rays flowing out from every pore of Shakyamuni Buddha's body, filling your own body and the bodies of all sentient beings, and blessing you and all sentient beings to have every form of well-being and happiness, and especially to develop all the realizations on the path to enlightenment, wisdom, compassion, patience, generosity, joyous effort, and so forth. And then imagine all the objects of the field of refuge dissolve into light and dissolve into Shakyamuni Buddha. And Shakyamuni Buddha also shrinks in size to very small, like the size of the tip of your thumb. And then comes to the crown of your head and abides above in a space above the crown of your head to watch over you as you do the meditations session. So now we'll do about, why don't we do a little more than 10 minutes of just simple breathing meditation, right? Placement meditation, focusing on the breath. Of course, if you really want to, you can focus on something else. But since that is kind of what we started with, and it's a good place to start, we'll just do simple placement meditation, focusing on the breath. So as we do that for a little more than 10 minutes, like I said, I won't say much or anything maybe during those 10 minutes, but try to remember some of the things we talked about in relation to doing placement meditation, especially the to divide one's kind of mental energy up into these 2 aspects of mindfulness, which is about 70 or 80% of our mind. We're just watching the object and trying to maintain a continuity or continuum through time of unbroken awareness, meaning undistracted awareness, being fully aware of the object of meditation. And then with the other 20 or 30% of our mind, we use like a sentry or this introspection, right? We generate introspection where we're monitoring the course of our own meditation. So we'll try to be aware of those. And then also be aware of the 2 main obstacles, laxity and excitement, which we spoke about, especially last session. Laxity where the mind is too loose and is slipping off the object, going towards lethargy, sleepiness. And then excitement where the mind is too lifted up, too excited. And so we're tending towards just thinking about other things out of, the attachment or the desire to think about other things that might seem more fascinating, more interesting. So be aware, on the lookout for those. And if you notice those two, just try to apply some of the different antidotes. Okay, so try to do that. Just focus on the breath for about 10 minutes. Okay. So then relax your attention. And okay. Maybe we should upload the discussion questions again now, because some people probably didn't get them. I'll just read through them quickly. So now we're going to go into breakout rooms of 3 people each for about 20 minutes. Yeah, that'd be good. But before we do that, I'll just briefly read through the discussion questions. So, so the idea of this is just, well, partly we're reviewing, right? Because there is a self-assessment that we'll give at the end after the next session, to help you just kind of, and just to, mainly to help you think over and for yourself and help just discuss with the other members of the course. Yeah, some of the main things we've talked about and some of your own experience and questions and comments. So there's 3 questions for today, but you can also discuss anything that we've learned so far. But first, what is meditation? What are the main defining characteristics of meditation? What are some of the, and then what are some mental states that are similar to meditation that are not meditation, and why are they not? Right. And then the second, compare placement meditation and analytical meditation. How are they similar and how are they different? And then finally, discuss some of your experience with meditation during this module. And what have you learned through your own efforts so far? And how would you like to work on growing in your practice? Yeah, so what are some ways you'd like to try to develop, or some things you'd like to experiment with, and so forth. So I think it's quite clear. Yeah, so why don't we go ahead into breakout groups, and then we'll have 10 minutes all together for question and answer and discussion after that. So I thought for 10 minutes or so, if you have any questions from the discussion groups or comments or anything, we could I can try to answer any questions or. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone. So were there any questions kind of remaining from any of the discussion groups? Did you all feel like you have a good handle on what meditation is and how it's different from other things? Like, what are some of the examples of other states of mind? I wasn't sure you'd understand that part of the question. Other states of mind that are similar to meditation, but that are not meditation, and why?
Well, we talked about like when you're like right before you fall asleep, or lucid dreaming is a state that's not meditation.
So why not?
I think of it as because you're not meditation, you're focusing and you're controlling your brain, versus sleeping, your brain's just doing whatever it's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Susan, did you have some example?
Oh, I was just, when you're focusing on what I'd say was not a nice thing. Like if you're going to, if you're a hunter and you're really focused on doing something, and it's not meditation because you haven't, obviously you're doing something that goes completely against what we're trying to do.
Yeah, but it's good to note that there is the element of focus. No? That's a very interesting thing to look at, like what kind of things that we do in ordinary life, or the experiences that we have, and how do they bring about different degrees of focus or destroy it. Because the more we become just familiar with that, then we can use that more in meditation. We try to use those different ways to generate focus in meditation.
We also used an example of turning anything into meditation if you do it with focus in the present moment, versus like you could be driving and thinking about, yesterday or tomorrow, which is not
Mm.
focusing, or you could be actually focusing on the moment of driving, and that's more like meditation.
Mhm. Yeah, it's true. You can turn a lot of activities into a kind of meditation. Remember, another quality of meditation is we repeatedly do it. We do it again and again and again, intentionally, deliberately. But there's some activities we can't really turn into meditation, like killing. You know, no matter what kind of mental state you generate. I mean, for an ordinary person, like killing is always going to be, at the moment you actually kill, you have to have the intention to harm another being. So that's obviously not. It's not something you can like sincerely do with a positive motivation, and it's not something that's beneficial for yourself or others. Yeah, but then you should all be thinking of, what about euthanasia?
So is meditation then, are you saying that you think meditation then is only something that has a positive side?
Well,
It doesn't
when you
have to
talk
do
about
with
the positive
focus?
side, I mean, you could be talking about an effect as well. I think it's something you only do with for a positive intention.
That
I
would be
think
a
it.
virtuous meditation. What about a non-virtuous meditation?
See, I wouldn't call that meditation.
Well, then then we haven't decided what meditation is.
Well, I mean, we can all have different opinions about what a meditation is, but can you give an example of a non-virtuous meditation?
I'm just leaving it at that. It's a
Well, hold on, but you're the
yeah,
one that proposed the
thought.
idea, so you have to defend it. I mean, because otherwise, for example, when we're angry at someone, we can be very focused on that, and obviously, it's not. I mean, not anger is by nature non-virtue. It's a natural.
Oh, would you argue
natural.
that's samsara? That's samsara that's controlling your brain, not if it's anger or you're meditatively plotting something that's not beneficial, then that would be samsara taking over your mind, not meditation.
Um,
Is that a way to think of it?
Well, yeah, that's one way to think of it, but I mean, what samsara is a very complex question. I mean, basically for ordinary people like us, everything we do is part of samsara. There's not like anger. Anger, of course, is within samsara. There's worse parts and better parts, right? So even when we meditate on love, loving kindness, compassion, still for us, that's still part of samsara, because it's still as a person, we're under the power of our karma and afflictive emotions. Like, we don't have control over our minds really at this point. So
So if meditation is focusing the mind, you can focus the mind virtuously, you can focus the mind non-virtuously, and you can focus the mind in a neutral way.
correct.
So
I
now
agree.
all of those would be what? Different types of meditation.
No, there'd be different types of
Focusing the
mental
mind.
focus.
Yeah, but it's like you're going back and forth between what's meditation, what's mental focus. Is it only virtuous that counts? We don't count the stuff that's not so nice.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But that's why I'm saying meditation, the defining characteristic is not simply mental focus. Because if it is, then the things you're pointing out, like being focused when we're angry, or being focused when we're trying to harm someone, like when we're hunting, those would be meditation. And that's the absurd consequence of that view, that any mental focus is meditation. So that's what I'm saying. Additional characteristics, defining characteristics of meditation should be that it's done repeatedly and deliberately, but that can still include non-virtuous things, right? So then I think it should be you do with a positive intention as well.
You mean a positive motivation?
Yeah.
Because you have a positive attention on killing things too.
Not
If that's
attention,
where your
intention,
attention is.
positive intention, positive
Intention. Oh, I
motivation.
thought you said attention. Oh,
No, not
sorry.
attention, intention,
Oh, okay.
INTTIO, intention. Yeah, a positive intent. I'm doing this because I want to achieve the welfare of myself or others somehow.
So we're just narrowing the definition of meditation then.
Yeah, because otherwise it leads into this kind of absurd consequences. I mean, also because meditation, it should be a spiritual activity. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but then there's a lot of room for debate there. I mean, it definitely doesn't have to be part of a religious, tradition, but yeah, do we want to call when someone doesn't, well, just for the achieving happiness of this life, just generating better mental focus or becoming more efficient at the things we do, just becoming more aware. There can probably be, those kind of things. That's just for the purpose of this life. I think I would call that meditation too, but if it's done with a positive intention, positive motivation. Yeah.
In one of the readings, and I don't remember which one, something that Rinpoche wrote, he mentioned that you need the motivation and then you need the dedication at the end for the long view, the benefit, as well, in order to be meditation. Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but
I'm not sure. Rinpoche might well have said, I don't know. I'm not. I mean, definitely Rinpoche will say we need to do motivation at the beginning and dedication at the end in order to reap long-term benefit from it. But if that's necessary for something to be meditation or not, usually when we debate about what meditation is, in the monastery, usually there's no mention of the motivation and the dedication. But it. So, but the things that when we debate it, the things that have to be there are, intentionally focus the mind repeatedly. Typically they say on a virtuous object, right? But then it becomes problematic. What about meditation on the suffering of the lower realms? Like the suffering of the lower realms, suffering of hells, for example. We meditate on the suffering of hell. So what's that like? The suffering of hells is not a virtuous object by any means, but yet you meditate on that, right? So, but see, that's where it helps to add with a positive intention. So with a positive intention, you can think about, all the faults of anger, the suffering of, different sentient beings, suffering of the lower realms, the negative consequences that come about from immoral actions and so forth. And then all that, it's it's focused on things that are non-virtuous, but the intention is virtuous. And therefore it becomes a cause of, the well-being of oneself or others, because, it becomes a virtuous action. So I think meditation, it should be a virtuous activity.
Sounds like meditation is simply focusing the mind on something.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying again, with a virtuous intention.
You can have virtuous meditations, you can have non-virtuous meditations, and you can have neutral meditations. We want to encourage virtuous meditations because the outcome is much better for ourselves and for everyone around us than other types of meditation. So it's just a focusing the mind, isn't it?
No, I disagree, because then you could have someone, think of an extreme of someone with a really malevolent intent, who wants to harm a lot of people, like by planting a bomb in a federal building or something, and they repeatedly focus their mind on how to do that again and again and again.
Meditating on how to cause harm.
Yeah, but I think that's not meditation.
Meditating.
Can I change the subject with a different
Please,
question?
yeah, James.
Okay.
This debate's not going anywhere.
So I've been doing we've been doing the focusing and the analytical meditation, and then recently we heard this talk about he called it a non-dual or glimpse meditation, and it was really cool. It's almost like another form of consciousness or meditation. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I could explain. So basically, when I'm meditating, I'm aware of my brain, and I'm like above my running mind that's thinking. and I'm conscious of it. But then this glimpse meditation said, well, if you're aware of your brain, then you're aware that thing that's aware of it. Can you become aware of that? And then what's that? It was almost like a third level of kind of consciousness. And I just never heard anyone talk about that or experienced that. And both Christine and I had a really good experience with that. I don't know if you have that, if you know what I'm talking about, or could talk to that, or is there a
I
different
don't
vocabulary
know.
for this?
You're saying glimpse meditation.
The person talking about it,
Non-dual.
what was his name?
So it was Lot Kelly. He referred to it as non-dual meditation or glimpse
Mhm.
meditation.
Okay. Yeah, non-dual is a common term used in different contexts.
Okay.
Related to different kinds of meditations. A glimpse, I don't know. I'm not familiar with what that would mean.
Oh, it was
But-
because it only lasted for like 5 seconds. Right? Like we got a glimpse of
okay.
that, and then my
Right.
brain took back over.
Right. Well, your brain is, working the whole time. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's quite similar to looking, observing the nature of our own mind, watching our own mind. So,
Mhm.
when you say watching your brain, that's quite difficult because how do you watch your brain?
Or
Is-
aware of my mind.
Observing the observer.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, observing the observer. So our brain is functioning, but usually we don't have access to our own brain, right? Unless we use an MRI scanner or something like that, then we can see what's going on. But we do have direct access to the operations in our own mind. And in our own mind, there's many different levels, right? It's kind of like an onion, and you can unpeel layers and layers. So it is, yeah, exactly. What you described doing is very interesting to watch. So a good place to start is like watch the breath or watch something, external to yourself, or external to your own mind. Watch the breath, for example, and then use this introspection I was describing. It's more like you focus more of your energy, your mental energy, in the introspection part. So you let the mind watching the breath become just very weak. It's there, but you focus more of your energy into like watching the mind that's watching the breath.
That's it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then so you try to get an experience of just experiencing the experiencer or observing the observer. So you have a part of your mind is observing the breath, but then you try to observe primarily the observer of the breath instead of the breath. Right. And then you can go another layer back and try to observe that mind that's observing the mind that's observing the breath. And then, hypothetically, it could lead to an infinite regress, but we kind of run out of mental power, right, to look.
That's called non-dual? Is that the term?
Not really. Non-dual is more a state whereby there's a sense of there's no distance between the observer and the object observed. Usually, like when we're observing the breath, we feel like the breath is out there and I'm here and I'm watching that. Whereas when we're watching our own mind, that boundary quickly breaks down because the thing we're watching, ourself, experiencing something, and the watcher watching that, watching our own mind is the same thing, right? They're part of the same entity. It's just two parts of the same kind of blob of stuff in a way. So there's very quickly a sense that, oh, there's actually no distance between me, the person doing the observing, and the thing I'm observing, which is another aspect of myself. So that the experience of non-duality is where there's no sense of distance or separation between the object and the subject. Yeah, but that's enough conversation for now. We should try to do some, we have 20 minutes left to do some more meditation. But thank you all for your questions and comments and observations. That's very good. Okay, so yeah, wiggle your body around a little bit, make sure you're fresh, and then settle into your meditation posture. Again. So as you gradually gather the focus of your attention within, you can come back to the breath or another object, and then again visualize, regenerate the visualization of all sentient beings seated around you. But then especially imagine three people sitting directly in front of you, right? So one friend, and not the person you're like most attached to or most care about, but kind of a medium level friend, so to say. So the attachment there is not too great. And then one person whom you have a neutral attitude towards, or not particularly a friend or an enemy, antagonist. And then one person who you tend to have, dislike, and that tend to have negative thoughts and feelings about, but also not your worst enemy, not the person you hate, the most or something, but someone you just have a mild dislike towards. Okay, so visualize three people in front of you: one friend, one neutral person, and one enemy. And then we're going to practice meditating on loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, and joy with regard to these three people. Okay, so let's begin with equanimity. So first, so try to reflect how, actually we don't need to share a screen right now. So there's three people: this friend, stranger, neutral person, and enemy. Are they the same as oneself and the same as one another? All three of them in wishing to have happiness and wishing to be free from suffering. So why don't we start with the friend and then move to the neutral person, the stranger, and then the enemy. And they just briefly think about the same set of two questions with regard to each. Are they the same as me in wishing to have happiness and wishing to be free from suffering? And then so one by one, are they each the friend, stranger, and antagonist? Are they the same in having the potential to be free from suffering and the potential for happiness up to enlightenment? Are they the same as oneself in having the potential for those and having the right to pursue those? And then finally, ask yourself, do I have an equal sense of concern for the well-being of each of these three individuals? And would it be better if I had, or could I have a more equal, unbiased sense of concern for these three people? So do you have an equal sense of concern? Or could you have a more unbiased, a more equal sense of concern for each of these three? And then finally, if it makes sense to you, then try to generate the intention that may I have an equal sense of concern for this friend, stranger, or neutral person, and antagonist. And may they have an equal sense of concern for each other. So now we'll spend the last 5 minutes meditating on metta, or loving kindness. So we did once before. So do the same way again. Start with yourself, directing this intention. So remember, love is the intention, the wish for oneself or another person to be happy or to be well. So if you like, you could repeat the words to yourself, directed towards yourself. May I be happy, may I be well. And then think of all the different things that entails, but mainly keep coming back to that, simply that intention. But you can also think about all the different ways, different permutations and flavors of happiness and well-being. So so we have 5 minutes. So divide up the time however you like. But start with generating loving kindness directed towards yourself, and then directed towards a friend, then a neutral person, and finally the antagonist at the end if you have time. You can always continue after the session is over. So generate the intention. May I be well, may I be happy. So conclude your meditation on loving kindness there. Okay, so then we'll just dedicate briefly some by the merit. We've created this session, all the sessions. We can rejoice in whatever merit we've generated. Ourselves and all the other participants can rejoice. And rejoice in all the merit created by all sentient beings everywhere. And then the merit created by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, especially our own teachers. So all this merit gathered together, it's like a great ocean of positive energy we dedicate. Especially may there be an end to all famine, war, natural disasters. May all those, especially caught in violent conflict in Afghanistan, Syria, different countries in Africa, and other places, be free from, be free from that fear of violence, danger of violence, and those suffering from different forms of sickness, physical, mental sickness, may they be totally healed from that. Those who are hungry, may they have food. Those who are thirsty, may they have drink. Those who are homeless, may they have homes. Those who are without friends or companions, may they have companionship and friendship. In short, may all sentient beings have everything they need to survive and also to flourish and to quickly progress towards a state of full enlightenment. May none of our actions cause the slightest harm. May all those who have died recently quickly take a precious human rebirth or rebirth in a pure land, and the lower realms be completely emptied. And may the Buddha Dharma flourish, especially this host center, Ocean of Compassion Center in San Jose. May all their activities flourish and they have all necessary conditions, sponsors and volunteers and so forth, to be able to continue offering the Dharma. May His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and our other teachers have long and stable lives. And from life to life, may we never be parted from them and from the Dharma. And then bring to mind any other intentions and prayers you'd like to make. So may all those, your prayers and intentions in accordance with Dharma, be fulfilled exactly as you wish. Okay, so we conclude there today. Thank you for your participation. So next week will be same format, about 30 minutes meditation, then 30 minutes discussion and maybe more debate, and then 30 minutes more meditation. Okay, great. Have a great week and try to practice some of what we've been learning. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Bye.
Venerable. Thank you, Mary Ellen and Urs. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.